Welcome everybody to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your host for the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. Oh yeah. Welcome back everybody to the Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Lino Martinez. I am super duper excited and very honored to interview Rich Lewis, who is the author of the book Sitting with God. His handle is his Twitter handle is at RichLewis01. His IG is at Rich_Lewis3. And you can also find his information on www.silenceteaches.com. Welcome to my show, Rich Lewis.
Great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I'm really interested in this because I meditate every day. And something that I was looking at your profile and that really caught me was that you said that let's see here. I want to quote you exactly how you say, I help people become their true self. And that's how I feel. And that's what I'm hoping to do as well with my podcast and my book and stuff. And I mean, I'm looking up to you with this because you're far ahead of me with this. So I'm really have some questions on how you help people become their true self.
Sure. Bring them on.
Bring them on.
Bring them on, and that's help your community.
Yes, let's do it. So how do you do this? Let's say somebody comes up to you and they're like, hey, Rich, I have no drive in life. I don't know what I want to do. I'm unhappy with my job. I'm unhappy in my relationships. I don't even know who I am. How do you even begin?
Well, I guess I would introduce them to a meditation practice such as centering prayer. So you said you meditate, and there's all kinds of meditation practices. So yes. Centering prayer is a form of meditation.
Oh yes.
Uh-huh. And it's really a practice and a relationship with God where during it, you're opening to the presence and actions of God within, and you're connecting to your true self. Mm-hmm. And you can connect to your true self through centering prayer. And I'm sure you probably do the same thing through whatever form of meditation you do.
Yes.
So would it be helpful if I just described what centering prayer is? Because people probably wonder what the heck is
because I think prayer? That a lot of people, they think that prayer means you have to chant or that you have to say customary stuff, or depending on what religion they're on, they have to say Hail Marys or whatever it is. But centering prayer, from what I read on your profile, is different. It's more of like your personal relationship with God. So give us some examples of centering prayers.
Sure. So centering prayer has been around since the early 1970s. It was created actually by three Trappist monks, so three Catholic priests in the early 1970s. As a result, they saw a lot of like transcendental meditation going on, and they wanted something for the Christian community. So they created centering prayer in the early 1970s. And what it is it's considered meditation, but also a relationship with God. And how you do it is simple as it has 4 guidelines, as they call it, or 4 steps. You sit comfortably with your eyes closed, and then to begin and it's wordless prayer. So you're not talking, you're not chanting. To begin your wordless prayer, where you're not saying anything or actually even thinking anything, you introduce a word interiorly. So you're not saying it, you're just thinking the word. So it might be beach or ocean, or Jesus or God, whatever word, 1, 2, or 3 syllable word, you interiorly say this word. You're not speaking it. You interiorly think the word to begin your practice, signifying that you're opening to the presence and actions of God within. And then really, whenever you begin engaging your thoughts, what I mean by that is whenever you think about what you did before your sit, or you begin planning what you're going to do after you get up from your sit, you let go of those thoughts and planning and plotting that you're doing, reintroduce that word to bring you back to the present moment, and then you let go of that word too. So you're constant. So really, whenever you plan and plot and engage your thoughts, you reintroduce that word and then let go of it. So sometimes you don't have to use the word, you naturally bring yourself back. But essentially, that's what you're doing the whole time of the practice, is just letting go of you and your thoughts and ideas, and opening to the present moment, opening to life, opening to God within throughout the entire duration. So if you choose 10 minutes, you're doing this for 10 minutes. And
I
then
love how
after that,
you give imagery as an example, because I feel that a lot of people mistaken don't think about anything as in, and a lot of people say, well, how can I not think about anything? But you're introducing imagery, which is amazing, because then that's where the connection begins.
right. So you can, and you, as this, and it's really, you're using whatever sacred method makes sense for you. So you can use kind of a word where you can use a picture. I actually
Yes.
kind of use a picture, an image to bring myself back, but I'm thinking it interiorly. I'm not looking at it. You can use your breath, or some people are afraid they'll fall asleep while they do centering
Yeah, a
prayer.
lot of people
So they'll
do.
open with their eye, they'll practice with their eyes open and stare at a
Right.
spot to kind of keep them focused.
Uh-huh.
So you can pick the method that works best for you, but just use the same method the whole time. Don't use your breath one time and then the next time you, during the same sit, use a word and then change the word, because then you're going to spend all your time thinking about what's my next sacred method. When you, so to keep it simple, use the same method through the prayer time. And then if you decide, you know what, I didn't like that word or I didn't like that image, pick
Yeah.
something else for the next one sit you
Uh-huh.
do.
And then what comes after that? So
um,
you get this image in your head, and then you're finally comfortable. You don't have any more anxiety. You're settled down. What happens after you have that image?
Nothing. I mean, and that's, people get confused. They're like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? You're not supposed to be doing anything. You're supposed to just continuously let go of your thoughts and your emotions or any interior images you have. The whole idea is just it's you're completely letting go during this sit and opening to the presence and actions of God within, and letting God act in you at a deeper level. I think of it as a reverse prayer. God is praying in me during this time, and God knows what I need. So he might be praying for giving me inner peace or inner calm or
Right.
wisdom for tasks or nudges to get out of my comfort zone and try and do new things. So
Hmm.
your job is really to show up and let go and just trust the process, trust God during this sit.
Should people have like an intention before they go into this meditation? Like, my intention is to be able to do this more, or my intention is to be able to help people, or my intention is to not be depressed anymore. Should there be an intention set before, or just go and do it and see what type of messages you receive during the centering prayer?
I mean, really, the only intention, but you're not focusing on it, is just I intend to open to the presence and actions of God within. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to use my sacred method whenever I engage my thoughts and emotions. So that's really your intention, really, is I'm trusting God and I'm opening to God. So I'm just getting myself out of the way. And whenever I have a thought or I'm planning or plotting, as I said, I'm going to let go of it and come back to God. So that's really your intention, is that right now I'm just sitting with God, or sitting with life, or sitting with my higher power, or whatever you might want to refer to it as, and just trust the higher power, trust God, and let go of me.
I
And
love
then,
that. I love that, Rich, because I feel that so many people, especially nowadays with social media and everything, and people are just on the go and they don't give themselves that silent time. And silence, I know how you were saying, I was looking at on your profile, you were saying how silence can transform you. And I can't agree with you more. I just a quick story. I had lost my voice for 2 years because I have a progressive genetic disease. And when I lost my voice and I couldn't talk, I had an atypical paralysis of my vocal cords. I became really depressed, but it was within that depression of silence that I actually became my strongest self. And I made sure to tell my higher self, to tell God, to tell the spirit guides, everybody. I said, if my voice comes back, I promise to use it for a good purpose. And sure enough, it was through that silence that I found answers and other doors started opening for me. It wasn't just a coincidence either. It was sitting in silence that my life completely changed for the best. Give us an example on how that happened to you.
I mean, I guess I've noticed I've been practicing centering prayer since June of 2014, as much as possible, twice a day for 20 minutes.
Wow,
So
that's a long time.
I've just noticed how and it's not meditation is changing me is God. So God heals and transforms you during this time. So when I look at my life before that and after that, I see huge differences. You know, I
Right.
see a more confident person. I see a person, or I feel much more confident. I'm much more excited to live life. Um, and it birthed the book. I mean, it birthed the idea of writing a book and sharing centering prayer as a
Wow.
practice that can help people. You know, it birthed my silenceteaches.com website and the work that I'm doing now, such as teaching it at churches or teaching it to ministers or spiritual directors or speaking to different groups. So it really, and it's birthed one-on-one coaching, helping people one-on-one that want to start a practice or go deeper in their existing practice. So I've trusted God, and God has nudged me and turned, my website from just a weekly meditation into, a book, um, coaching and teaching, and be excited to see what else God nudges me to do. I'm sure God's not done with me yet. So
Yeah, I don't think so. Did you find any complications when you were going to other like religious sanctions as far as the book and sitting with God and introducing, even putting the word meditation in here? Did you get any heads bunting at all?
from people that are reading it, or I'm trying to understand your question.
No, when you physically went to like churches and
Oh, okay.
different institutions, that they at all say, "Hey, this is not how we practice." Did you get anything like that?
So it's not a common way to practice. Most people think of prayer, um, that aren't familiar with it. They think of it as you have to talk verbally,
Right.
or you need to recite something. So
Exactly.
they don't think of it as prayer. So that would be that was kind of where they would look at me to say, is this really prayer? And
Mhm.
I could share, Jesus, this type of prayer goes back to Jesus. If you think about it, he often went off alone to be by himself.
True.
And we don't think he always talked. We thought he just sat with God. He didn't need to always talk. Sometimes he just sat with God.
Hmm.
And Jesus fasted. And if you're going to fast, you need to conserve your
Right.
energy. You can't talk and babble
And
and
use up
move.
all that energy. Yeah.
Right. So I like remind them. I mean, this type of prayer, it's just not known, but it goes all the way back to Jesus, and it's mostly, I guess, what we can call in the Eastern churches, Eastern Christianity versus Western. Western and Eastern sort of split. I don't know if it was back in the 1100s or 1200s.
Hmm.
So this type of contemplative practice stayed in the Eastern church, but the Western church didn't do this type of practice. So it's not known. It's getting more known, but it's not known as a form of prayer. So they say this isn't prayer. This is new agey. This isn't really a relationship with God. When the truth is, no, this goes all the way back to Jesus,
Thousands of years ago.
and it's in the Bible. I mean, be still and know I'm God. And there's a lot of references to silence in the Bible, that people don't realize.
And now than ever before, people need to practice silence for sure, being within themselves and finding that power within more
Right.
than ever before.
Because if you think about it, the posture of centering prayer is you're letting go with your sacred method and opening to God, and then you as you continue to practice, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, you sort of, that same posture happens outside of your centering prayer time, where
Right.
you'll learn to let go of things that don't help you and that don't serve you, and then hone in and focus on the things that do. So you really, without realizing it, integrate your centering prayer with your everyday life.
Naturally.
It helps you. It helps you, as I say, silence teaches us who we are. It clearly teaches us, what steps I need to take today, what actions I need to take today. It also teaches me when I need to be quiet and not take action, because sometimes that's the best action, or sometimes
Right.
someone
Exactly.
else is better. Someone else might be better suited for the action. I might think I'm an expert at something, and someone else is a little bit better at it than me, so they should handle it. So it is a great teacher as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with you 100%. I also love how you said it does not replace other forms of prayer, it complements them.
Right. I like to remind people of that. By all means, don't stop your other forms of prayer. Add it to your existing forms of prayer. And I practice, prayer verbally, and I journal. I like to journal. So, and I like to talk out loud. So I don't just practice centering prayer. And I tell people that don't stop your other forms of prayer, enrich it and complement it
Enrich it.
with it.
What type of journaling do you do?
I like to do, I guess before I go to bed, I just like to do gratitude. So I'll jot down things. I'll look back at the day and just jot down what was I really grateful for today.
Oh yeah.
And then I also like to jot down, 1, 2, 3 things that I think I need to do tomorrow that I want to make sure I do tomorrow. So it's sort of some quick journaling before I go to bed, just so that I can go to bed with gratitude and go to bed thinking about, well, what are 1 or 2 tasks or 3 tasks that I think I should really do tomorrow and focus on. So I do that type of journaling. And then sometimes when I'm and I do another thing called affirmations, where I like to, affirmations to me are single sentences of goals that I want to do, whether it's in my health or mental health or physical health or family or career or related to my website, things that I want to do. And then actually what I like to do is I read them periodically throughout the day, but I read them before I do my centering prayer sit and let them go to God and let them brew with God, because I like to think of it as I'm partnering with God on these things. And I don't want to, they're not just me, it's something I partner with God on. So then if I continue to feel, excited about them and an inner peace and calm about them, yeah, and they should get me out of my comfort zone. And they don't, and then as long as they don't harm me or harm others, I keep moving forward on them. So that's what I call my true self affirmations and my true self barometer, that I'm every day looking at this list. So I like to read them before I do my sits. And then I actually like to read them before I go to bed and kind of let them rest in God and brew with God as we fall asleep together.
Hey, Rich, I have a question. Sometimes
Sure.
I find myself, because I've seen how enriched my life, using your word enriched, because that's a perfect word for it, how much centering prayer has changed my life for the best. And when I see people suffering around me and I talk to them about like silent or meditation or prayer or being closer to a higher being or by higher self, whatever it is that other people might, however they might define it, I find some resistance, like, well, I don't need to pray or I don't need to meditate. Or, I mean, how you navigate against people who say they don't need to do that?
I mean, I guess you can kind of talk to them what is on their mind and what's weighing on their mind. You can share how it has helped you. And then I also like to, like some people, I like to tell them there's many practices. So I've had some people where I've worked with, and they'll determine, what, I'm not sure centering prayer is the right practice for me. And we do a bunch of talking, and they're like, I think I need more of a mantra, something that I'm saying over and over again.
Oh,
So
wow.
then I'll actually introduce them to a different practice. So there's a practice called Christian meditation, where you're
Okay.
interiorly saying a mantra over and over again.
Could you
So
give us an example of one of those mantras?
I mean, I think you can just pick any word you want. I mean, I think that Maranatha or something, I think they say a common word over and over again, but you
Okay.
could really just pick a word and say it
Okay.
over and over again.
So
But
I could just say like love and then just
right.
close my eyes. Would I say that out loud, or would I just close my eyes and think of the word love, or just say the word love in my head?
Actually, I think you could do either. I mean, I think Christian
Mhm.
meditation does it silently, but there's nothing wrong with chanting, because I went to a Buddhist temple once, and
Mhm.
they do chanting, and they're saying the same thing over and over again
Yeah.
for 10 or 15 minutes. So that's all. So I like to tell people, if you find like centering prayer doesn't work for you, there's
Mhm.
many practices, and I try to share with them, another practice that might work for them. But then I just encourage them, try it for 30 days and just see what happens. And then if you feel like this is something that works for you and resonates with you, I like to tell them to stick with it and dig deep in this well and see what happens.
I
So
love that, because also on a chemical level in the brain, you're rewiring your brain to think a certain way and to have this really healthy mental habit and adapt yourself in a more productive way by literally just thinking about one thing over and over and over. That's really amazing.
right, and the other thing, yeah, people will say I don't have time, and so I'll say
Yeah,
two
that's
different.
another one.
I'll
I
say I
get
have
a
two
lot
different.
of that. I don't have time. I'm like, wait a minute, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes, really? Like what?
So two things I'll say. One, I said the best time is first thing in the morning. So make the time in the morning. So if you've decided I'm just starting and I'm going to take baby steps. Get
Yeah.
up 5 minutes early and do it. And then
Mhm.
as if you increase it to 10 minutes or 20 minutes, then you just get up that amount of time earlier, start your day with your silent prayer, your meditation, or your centering prayer practice. For me, that's the best way. And then I always encourage people to add a second sit during the day. And that's where they'll say, I don't have time. And I'll argue it actually has a way of giving you back time. Because again, as I talked about earlier,
That's so
centering
true.
prayer helps you let go of the things that are making you
Not even
anxious,
serving you
wearing you.
anymore. So you're
So
making room for more.
I have found that it gives me back time because I take a second sit and then my second half of the day finishes stronger because I stopped and centered myself
Yes.
and reconnected with life. So it actually gives you back time and makes you more productive, but you have to do it for yourself
Right.
to experience it.
I love that. Oh my goodness, you're pumping me up. You're pumping me up. Thank you so much. I mean, everybody has a bad day. Sometimes we're not feeling so energetic. Sometimes we want to sleep all day. Maybe some people have pain. How do you stay motivated?
um, well, I guess centering prayer can help, but it's movement too. I mean, like if you're really, I think the
Mhm.
best thing for depression is movement. You got to get up and move, whether it's take a walk or do
Huh.
something more rigorous to get your heart beating. So whether it's a brisk walk or even if you're going to do jumping jacks for a couple minutes. So I
Yeah.
definitely say movement, change of scenery, a nice walk somewhere for 10, 15, 20 minutes. Um, a movie,
Yeah.
something to change the mood, but definitely movement and exercise
Yes.
are much needed and they really can help you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Movement for sure. And how have relationships changed in your life since you started this in 2014, 2013, 2014? I can see how personally you can grow, but how have your relationships differed now that you have this different way of centering yourself?
I would say I'm just a better listener. I'm more patient and I'm a better listener because a lot of times we're thinking about what we're going to say instead of really listening. So I think
True.
I'm better at listening to people. I'm better at just not reacting and not because many times people don't necessarily want your opinion or they don't want a tip from you. They just
Right.
want you to listen. So I think I'm better at keeping the mouth closed and just listening and then even asking questions to say, I want to make sure I understand why you're feeling that way or how that made you feel. They don't like even with my wife, she doesn't necessarily she just wants to know I'm listening. She doesn't want my
Hmm.
tips and she doesn't want my advice. She just wanted me to listen to her. So I think
Yeah, I
sometimes,
get that often, especially being a podcaster where I always want to talk or give someone advice, and it happens to me often where people are like, just listen. And I'm like, okay, and then and then they feel better afterwards. And it's interesting, like sometimes maybe that's not the way that I need to release things, and I do mine a little more silently, or I also write things down, but somebody else may need to literally verbalize it or spill it out and
right.
listen. Yeah, just listening and holding it for them for a while. Yeah. That's
So
for
it's
sure.
definitely helped me in that aspect where I'm just fully present for people more so than I was before centering prayer. So I think just being fully present with someone is all people want from you at times.
That's beautiful. That's the most beautiful thing you could do is be present.
Right, right. And I'm still work in progress, and that's probably all I want from other people. If I have something weighing on
True.
my mind, I don't I just want them to listen. I don't necessarily want them to tell me what to do. I just want them to listen.
Awesome. Well, you know what? This has been an amazing interview. I can't believe how fast it's gone. I feel like we can talk about this forever, forever. And I'm really looking forward. I'm going to get a copy of your book, of course, and I hope I can get your autograph your
Sure,
autograph
sure.
someday. You said you've been out here. You're actually from Philadelphia? I almost said Pennsylvania. Philadelphia.
Right. I mean, well,
Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
I'm in
Yeah. Okay.
Ambler, Pennsylvania, which is just north of Philadelphia. It's just
Oh, okay, great.
15 miles so north of Philadelphia. And I know you're out on the West Coast, so Pasadena. So
Yeah, we're having similar temps over here as well. Thank you so
right.
much for your time. This has been amazing, really motivating, awakening, and I'm really looking forward to reading your literature and practicing everything that you've said. Thank you so much for your time, Rich. This has been amazing.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully this was helpful for your community.
Oh, extremely helpful. Are you kidding me? Of course it has been. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Thank you. You too.